Why do we want more things? Why do we feel unhappy when we don't have the newest phone, the biggest house, or expensive clothes? These are questions we must ask ourselves when we begin to look at the roots of material desire. From the moment we are born, the world teaches us to want. We see others with nice things, and we think, if I have that, I will be happy. Commercials, social media, and even friends and family show us messages every day that say, more is better. This message becomes a voice inside our heads, pushing us to chase after more things. But where does this desire come from? It comes from a misunderstanding. We think that outside things can fix inside feelings. When we feel lonely, bored, or unsure, we often buy something. A new item gives us a short moment of pleasure, but it doesn't last. Soon, the empty feeling comes back, and we want something else again. This cycle continues, and we never feel truly satisfied. In Buddhism, we learn that desire comes from a false idea of self. We believe we are separate from the world, and that we need to collect things to protect or improve this self. But this belief causes pain. The more we try to fill ourselves with things, the more we realize the emptiness inside is not going away. Understanding this is the first step. We are not wrong for wanting things. It is a natural part of living in this world. But we must see that desire is not the problem. The problem is believing that the object of desire will give us lasting happiness. When we see this clearly, we can begin to look at our lives in a new way. We can ask, do I really need this? Or, what am I feeling that makes me want this? These small questions help us learn about ourselves. They open a door to peace, one that no object can give us. This is where the journey begins, not by throwing away everything, but by seeing clearly what we truly need and what we don't. We often say, this is mine, my house, my car, my money, even people, my partner, my child. These words feel natural, but have we ever stopped to ask, what does it truly mean to own something? In truth, ownership is an idea. It is not something we can hold in our hands. The things around us, our homes, our clothes, even our bodies, are always changing. A house can be lost in a fire. A car can break down. Our health can fade. We may say we own these things, but we cannot control them forever. One day, we will leave them behind, whether we want to or not. This is not something to fear. It is something to see clearly. When we understand that ownership is temporary, we can stop holding things so tightly. We can begin to treat them with care and respect, without needing to possess them deeply. We borrow everything in this life, from nature, from time, even from our own future. Imagine holding sand in your hand. If you hold it gently, it stays. If you close your fist and squeeze tightly, it slips through your fingers. This is what happens when we try to hold on too hard to our things. The tighter we cling, the more we suffer when we lose them. This illusion of ownership also affects our relationships. When we think someone belongs to us, we expect them to act a certain way. We may feel anger or sadness when they don't. But people are not possessions. They are living, changing beings with their own paths. In Buddhism, we are reminded that nothing truly belongs to us, not because life is cruel, but because everything is connected. Nothing stands alone. When we begin to understand this, we stop saying, "This is mine," and start saying, "This is here now." That small change in thinking can bring a deep sense of peace. So next time you look at something you own, take a moment. Ask yourself, can I appreciate this without needing to hold it forever? This question is not about loss. It is about freedom. When we place too much value on material things, it begins to change the way our mind works. Slowly, without noticing, we start to measure our worth by what we have. A bigger house means success. New clothes mean confidence. A luxury car means importance. These ideas shape how we think, not only about ourselves, but about others too. We begin to compare. We look at someone who has more and feel jealous. We see someone with less and feel proud. This creates a world inside our minds where everything is a competition. And in this competition, we can never truly rest. There is always someone with more. There is always something new to want. This way of thinking is heavy. It fills the mind with worry, fear, and stress. What if I lose what I have? What if others think I'm not successful? These thoughts come again and again. Even when we achieve something, the peace does not last. We soon find ourselves chasing the next thing. Materialism also makes the mind busy. We think constantly about money, things, plans, and status. It becomes hard to enjoy a simple moment. We sit with family but think about work. We walk in nature but think about bills. Our minds jump from one thought to another, always reaching, never still. This is not just a personal issue. It affects our communities. When people focus too much on material success, we forget the value of kindness, patience, and honesty. We may begin to treat others not as people, but as tools, useful only if they help us reach our goals. But we can choose a different way. We can see these thoughts for what they are, habits, and habits can be changed. We do not need to fight or force the mind. Instead, we notice. We ask ourselves, why am I thinking this way? Does this thought bring peace or more desire? By watching the mind without judgment, we slowly begin to understand its patterns. We become less controlled by them. And with time, we find more space in the heart, not filled with things, but with calm. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming free. Many people think peace comes when life is perfect, when we have enough money, no problems, and everything goes as planned. But in truth, peace often comes when life becomes simple. Simplicity is not about living without anything. It is about choosing what truly matters. When we live simply, we are not pulled in many directions. We are not always running after the next thing. We create space in our lives, and in that space, peace can grow. Think about a room filled with too many things. It feels crowded, hard to move, and difficult to find what you need. Now imagine a clean, open room. It feels calm. The same is true for our hearts and minds. When we fill them with too many wants, worries, and plans, we feel heavy. But when we let go of what we don't need, we begin to feel light and clear. Simple living also helps us enjoy life more. A quiet meal, a short walk, time with someone we love, these things become more precious. We no longer need something big or expensive to feel content. Small joys become enough. This kind of happiness is gentle but deep. In Buddhism, simplicity is a way to return to the present moment. When we stop chasing more, we can actually see what is already here. And often, we realize we already have enough. We don't need to change the whole world to feel peace. We only need to understand what is truly needed and let go of what is not. Of course, the world around us will still move fast. People will still want more, buy more, do more. But we do not have to follow. We can choose a different path. One step at a time, we can remove the extra noise and focus on what really supports our well-being. Simplicity is not a rule. It is a practice. Each day, we can ask ourselves, is this useful? Does this help me feel calm? These small questions guide us toward a life that is not empty, but full of meaning. And through simplicity, we find something very rare in this world, a quiet kind of joy that stays, even when everything else changes. One of the most important steps in detaching from materialism is learning the difference between what we need and what we want. These two words may sound similar, but they lead us in very different directions. Needs are simple. They include food, clean water, shelter, basic clothing, and safety. These are the things that help us live and stay healthy. Without them, life becomes difficult or even dangerous. Wants, on the other hand, are everything extra. A bigger TV, designer shoes, a new car when the old one still works. These are wants. They may bring short-term comfort or pleasure, but they are not necessary for life. The problem is not that we have wants, but that we confuse them with needs. When we believe a want is a need, we create pressure inside ourselves. We think, I must have this. We begin to feel stressed, impatient, or even angry if we can't get it. This kind of thinking feeds materialism. It makes us chase more, even when we already have enough. Companies and advertising often use this confusion. They make us believe that a want is really a need. They say, if you don't have this, you're missing out. But we must learn to stop and ask ourselves, do I truly need this? Or do I just feel like I want it right now? Sometimes we want things because we are feeling something else. Loneliness, boredom, or sadness. We think buying something will make us feel better. And for a short time maybe it does. But then the feeling returns, and the cycle starts again. By seeing clearly what we actually need, we take back control. We no longer let desire lead us. We begin to make choices that support our true well-being, not just our passing emotions. This doesn't mean we must give up all comfort or joy. It simply means we become more aware. We understand that happiness doesn't come from satisfying every want. It comes from being able to tell the difference and being at peace even when we don't get what we want. That is the quiet power of knowing what is enough. It allows us to stop running and to rest in what truly supports a good and peaceful life. When we think about the things we own, we usually think of them as useful or enjoyable. But what we often don't see is the emotional weight that comes with them. Every item we keep carries not only a physical space, but also a space in our mind and heart. Think of a closet full of clothes you no longer wear. Every time you open it, a small thought appears. Maybe guilt, maybe confusion, maybe just noise. Now think of a drawer filled with old gadgets or broken things you plan to fix someday. These are not just objects. They are quiet reminders, pulling at our attention even when we're not aware of it. The more we collect, the more we must manage. We clean, organize, protect, and worry about losing or damaging things. We spend time, energy, and even emotional effort trying to take care of what we own. Slowly, our possessions begin to own us. Some things also carry emotional memories. A gift from someone we no longer speak to. An item from a painful part of life. We hold on to them, not because we need them, but because we feel tied to the past. This emotional weight can be heavy, even if the object is small. Letting go of such things is not easy. It can feel like letting go of a part of ourselves. But when we gently release what no longer serves us, we make space, not only in our home, but in our heart. We begin to feel lighter, more at ease. Ask yourself, does this item bring peace or pressure? Do I keep this out of love or out of fear? These are simple questions, but they can show us a lot. They help us see how possessions affect our feelings, even when we don't realize it. There is a kind of quiet strength in choosing to live with less. It allows us to be present, not surrounded by reminders of things undone or emotions unprocessed. We begin to carry our lives, not with tight fists, but with open hands. When we reduce the emotional weight of what we own, we create room for clarity, for peace, and for a life that is truly our own. Living with less is not about having an empty home or counting every object. It is about making space for clarity, inside and outside. When we remove what we do not need, we begin to see what truly matters. In today's world, we are surrounded by choices. So many products, so many opinions, so many voices calling for our attention. This creates mental noise. It becomes hard to hear our own thoughts, to feel clear in our direction. But when we simplify our surroundings, something interesting happens. The noise gets quieter. Our mind becomes calmer. We begin to feel more grounded. Living with less doesn't mean living in lack. In fact, it often leads to greater appreciation. When we choose only what supports our life, each item gains meaning. A few well-loved things are more valuable than a house full of unused ones. A single quiet day can feel richer than a busy week filled with distractions. Clarity also helps with decisions. When we are no longer pulled in many directions by desire, we can act with purpose. We stop asking, "What should I buy next?" and begin asking, "What is important right now?" That change brings peace. Some people fear that living with less will make life boring. But in truth, it often makes life deeper. With fewer distractions, we can give more attention to relationships, to nature, to small daily tasks. We discover beauty in simple moments. We also find more time we once spent shopping, cleaning, or worrying about things we didn't really need. This way of living is not about rules. It is not about counting or following someone else's idea of minimal. It is about listening to your own heart. It is about finding the level of simplicity that brings you peace. We don't need to throw away everything at once. One small change at a time is enough. One shelf cleared. One decision made with care. Each step helps us return to what is clear, calm, and true. In the end, living with less is not a sacrifice. It is a gift we give to ourselves. A life with more space, more freedom, and more meaning. Letting go is one of the hardest things for many people. We often hold on, not just to things, but to feelings, memories, and ideas, because we are afraid of loss, of change, of emptiness. But what if letting go could be something gentle? What if it could bring peace instead of fear? We fear that if we let go of something, we will miss it, that we will feel regret. But often the opposite is true. When we finally release what we no longer need, we feel lighter. A quiet relief appears, like a soft breeze after a heavy storm. Letting go is not about throwing everything away. It is about choosing. It is asking, is this helping me, or is it holding me? This question can guide us, not just with physical things, but also with thoughts and expectations. Some ideas we carry were never ours to begin with. Some dreams were based on what others wanted, not what we truly feel. Fear comes from the unknown. We worry about what will happen next. But when we begin to let go, even in small ways, we see that we can still be okay. The world does not end when we give something up. In fact, sometimes a better life begins. Letting go also helps us accept that change is part of life. Nothing stays the same forever. Not our bodies, our homes, our relationships, or our roles. When we accept this truth, we stop fighting it. We stop clinging. And in that space, we find a kind of calm that does not depend on what we have. It's natural to feel nervous. But we can start small. Let go of one item, one old idea, one heavy thought. Notice how you feel. You may discover a little more room to breathe. Letting go is not a loss. It is a return to simplicity, to clarity, to what truly supports us. It is not the end of something, but the beginning of something more honest, more spacious, and more alive. We don't need to be fearless. We only need to be willing. One breath at a time, we can begin. What gives life real meaning? For many people, the first answer is comfort. Having enough, living well. But after a while, even comfort is not enough. A deep part of us wants more. Not more things, but more purpose. This is where true fulfillment begins. Fulfillment does not come from what we buy. It comes from how we live. A new phone may make us smile for a day, but helping someone in need can stay in our heart for years. A big house may feel nice, but feeling at peace with who we are, that is something no money can buy. So where can we find this kind of fulfillment? We can start by being present. When we pay attention to the moment we are in, we begin to notice simple beauty. A warm cup of tea, the sound of rain, a kind word. These things may seem small, but they touch something deep inside. They remind us that life is not a list of goals, but a collection of living moments. We can also find meaning through connection, not through status or success, but through understanding, listening, and caring for others. Sharing time, offering support, or simply being honest with someone creates a sense of value that no object can replace. Another path is growth, not in wealth, but in wisdom. When we learn from life, even from pain, we grow stronger and more open. This growth brings a quiet joy. It tells us, I am changing, I am learning, I am becoming more true to myself. The more we look for fulfillment in experiences, relationships, and self-awareness, the less we need to search for it in things. The pressure to keep buying, to keep proving ourselves through objects, begins to fade. This doesn't mean we must reject all material comfort. It means we no longer expect it to fill the empty space inside us. Instead, we fill that space with meaning, with choices that reflect our values, not our fears. Fulfillment beyond things is not far away. It is already here, waiting in the quiet corners of everyday life. We only need to look with clear eyes and an open heart. It is possible to live a life that is full, not with things, but with meaning. This kind of life does not require great wealth or perfect conditions. It begins with a simple shift in the heart, the choice to live with enough, rather than always seeking more. When we stop measuring life by how much we own, we begin to see what truly matters. We make space for quiet mornings, for honest conversations, for doing work that feels right, even if it brings no fame or fortune. These moments may look ordinary from the outside, but inside, they carry deep satisfaction. Living without material excess means we are no longer driven by fear of missing out. We no longer need to prove ourselves through what we wear, what we drive, or what we display. Instead, we learn to rest in who we are, not what we have. That is true freedom. This kind of life also respects the world around us. When we take only what we need, we leave more for others. We waste less, harm less, and live with greater care. Our choices become a quiet form of kindness to the earth, to our communities, and to future generations. Of course, this path may not always be easy. The world often tells us that more is better, that success means having more than others. But we can choose to walk another way. A slower, more thoughtful way. A way that brings peace, even in a noisy world. This is not about rejecting comfort. It is about redefining it. True comfort is not found in luxury. It is found in knowing we are enough, just as we are. It is found in living a life that matches our values, not our fears or our habits. Each day we are offered this choice, to chase more or to live with enough, to fill life with objects or to fill it with meaning. The first path never truly ends. The second path leads home. And so we begin again, not with a full shopping cart, but with a full heart. That is the path of less and the path of more clarity, more calm, more truth, a life of quiet richness, without the weight of excess. As we reach the end of this journey, let us pause for a quiet moment. In each part, we have explored the many ways materialism can touch our lives, how it shapes our thoughts, burdens our hearts, and distracts us from what truly matters. We have also seen that freedom is not found in having more, but in needing less, not in holding tightly, but in letting go with care. True freedom is gentle. It is not loud or dramatic. It comes quietly, like the sound of wind through trees, or the warmth of morning light. It is the freedom to live simply, to feel peace without needing to prove anything, to look at our lives and say, "This is enough." This freedom allows us to move through the world with more ease. We can still enjoy what we have, but we are no longer owned by it. We can still dream, but we are not trapped by endless wanting. We live with open hands, not clenched fists. A meaningful life is not far away. It is already within us. Every time we choose presence over pressure, clarity over clutter, kindness over comparison, we take a step toward that life. And step by step, a new path opens, quiet, steady, and full of light. To those of you who have watched, listened, and reflected with me, thank you deeply. Your time and presence mean more than I can express. I'm truly grateful for each person who has supported this space with kindness, whether through a like, a thoughtful comment, a channel subscription, or a super thanks. Every gesture is felt, and it helps this message reach others who may need it. If any part of this talk has brought you peace or insight, I'm glad. These words are offered not as answers, but as reflections, shared from the heart, in hope that they meet you gently, wherever you are in your journey. May your path be light, may your heart be steady, and may you continue to discover the quiet joy that comes, not from what you carry, but from what you are free to lay down. Thank you again,